You have got to be kidding me. I've watched whatever it is, 11 or 12 episodes of The Bachelor. I feel like I'm climbing a mountain, and the top of this mountain is getting steeper and steeper. The episodes are moving slower and slower. There's fewer and fewer characters, but we're finally here. It's the final episode. We're going to see who Matt James picks, and he's going to get engaged to somebody. And then finally we're here, and I'm on a business trip on Monday night, and I don't have access to it. And now it's Tuesday. I'm in this weird hotel room. I mean, first of all, look at the floor of this hotel room. I'm in this weird hotel room, and I'm finally, I can't get internet in here, not enough to watch the show, so I have to use a hotspot on my phone. And finally, I watch it, and Matt James gets rid of, first of all, my favorite contestant, Michelle, and he chooses Rachel, but he doesn't even choose Rachel. He tells Rachel, hey, I'm not ready to make this decision, so I'm in love with you, and the music crescendos, and everybody's excited, but he didn't propose to her, so I don't know what happens, and that's it. It was just a 2 hours of Matt experiencing anxiety, and I just thought it was a boring episode. It's slickly produced. I mean, I thought, I don't buy the idea that Matt's mom, who, by the way, I totally love and think she's fantastic, I don't buy the idea that she just said, hey, love may not be enough, and that somehow wrecked, Matt's brain, and he all of a sudden was reminded of how serious this was, and when it wasn't able to pull through. I think he always knew that it was Rachel. I think he always knew it wasn't Michelle. Again, I'm so bummed it's not Michelle. But what a bummer. Now I got to watch another hour of the After the Rose ceremony, and hopefully there's something exciting there. All right, so I watched After the Final Rose. And I thought it was, well, first of all, it wasn't as fun as I was hoping, but it was really good. It was led by Emmanuel Acho, who was fantastic. I know there's been debate about, should Chris Harrison lose the position? Who's right for this final ceremony? And I thought that he, after hearing the conversation, Emmanuel was definitely a better fit, and I thought he navigated it perfectly. So the show starts, Michelle comes out and is very transparent about still being frustrated with Matt for leaving her the way that he did, kind of at the last moment, and she didn't get any closure. And she comes out and says, look, I'm still frustrated, and had the opportunity to speak directly to Matt. And I thought she did a really good job of standing up for herself, getting the apology from Matt, who should have, in retrospect, done a better job of closing the loop with her. He kind of dumped her and then bailed, and I guess she had requested a final discussion with him, and he denied it. So I thought that was a really well done on her part. And then the conversation shifts to obviously the meat of the discussion, which is the relationship between Matt and Rachel. Matt comes out first and talks about his experience just with all of the drama related to Rachel, starting back in the beginning of February when the pictures came out, all the way through to Chris Harrison's conversation with Rachel Lindsay. And I thought he did a really good job talking about his experience through that, specifically the experience that he had of being on The Bachelor as the first black bachelor and sort of having to represent the black community on the show and just the pressure that comes with that. I thought that was done really well. I thought I was impressed with Emmanuel because Matt tells him, look, I have dumped Rachel because of those pictures, because of how she responded to the pictures, because she needs to do work. And I was impressed that Emmanuel turned around and goes, hey, someone could hear that and question whether or not you really loved her. If you really loved her and you really wanted to marry her, isn't your relationship resilient enough that you could have stayed together through all of that? Which was exactly what I was thinking. I was surprised when he said, yeah, I've broken up with her, because it feels like, he went from sort of defending her, I think, beginning of February when the pictures first surfaced, to now wanting to break up with her, which just felt like a serious 180. And I thought Matt did a good job of explaining that there was just so much work done, or that needs to be done on her part, that at this point he doesn't feel like he can be with her. I think it's fair. My only caveat to that, and it's just sort of a pet peeve of mine, is the language, she needs to do work. I feel like that language is thrown out a lot, and it's just simply not specific enough. What work needs to be done? Like, specifically, what does she need to do? What's the best way to do that? And the challenge is, I don't know that there's a very clear answer to that. If someone said, I want to educate myself and do the work, how do you go out and do it? And I wish that there was more of a conversation around that. Instead, it felt a little bit cliche to me when Matt just goes, she just needs to do the work. And then that's the end of the conversation. So eventually Rachel comes out, talks to Emmanuel. They have a good conversation. I, again, felt like, which I guess is it's like my mantra, it just felt too polished. Obviously, Rachel had been coached before this. She goes out there and, he asks a question, what did you think of those pictures? And she said, look, at the time, I had no idea, but I don't want to say that I was ignorant because I could have done the work to prepare myself or to educate myself. And it felt like a perfect answer and obviously a prepared answer. And then he asked, well, who's responsible or what's responsible for your ignorance? Is the education system? Is it your family? Is it growing up in the South? What created that? And she's like, I don't want to blame anybody else. I had the ability to get educated. Oh, and the one that drives me nuts is she walks out there, and as you can imagine, she's had months of being, the online community trying to cancel her. And Emmanuel says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And the answer is, "I'm freaking miserable." But she goes, "I'm not doing what." I don't want to victimize myself because, and it's like, will you stop it? If we want to have these conversations, if you want to be able to have a difficult, an uncomfortable conversation, then you need to be transparent and honest. But to rehearse, to script your responses and be unable to be transparent with how you feel, I think it thwarts the whole sort of mission there. And to me, she was too polished. I thought Emmanuel did a great job asking the questions, but I think probably for good reason, she was very, very, very rehearsed. So that was kind of a bummer. I thought when Matt came out, I thought that they had a good exchange between the two of those, the two of them. Again, I felt frustrated with, Matt saying, I feel bad that you are crying or that you're hurt, but I don't want to take the, what did he say? He said something that drive. I had to pause it and think through it. He goes, I don't want to experience or feel or take on the emotional responsibility of your pain, because you have work to do and only you can do that. You can only do that work on your own. And I was like, well, what does that? What does that mean? And I wish Matt would just say, look, I'm hurt by what you did. I don't want to be with someone that would go to that kind of event. It's serious to me. I wish you understood how serious it was. And that's it. And I'm sorry you feel bad, but I'm not going to feel. I wish it was just more sort of casual and transparent in the conversation, but it just feels like those lines were given to him, and it's just super slick, polished discussion. It's like they're playing chess, right? And everybody's walking on eggshells, and no one wants to say the wrong thing. And to me, that's sort of debilitating, right? We don't really have that true conversation because we're being so intentional. And I'm excited that Michelle and Katie, my favorite, is gonna be back next season for a double Bachelorette show, which I don't know what that means. I guess they're gonna be back-to-back Bachelorettes. Whatever, it should be fun. Globally, my Bachelor experience, I would give it a B. I feel like I love the first 3 or 4 episodes when there's lots of variability in different women or different contestants, and there's lots of drama. It did feel like it was like a haul at the end of this thing. I was desperate for it. Please propose to somebody, and then he let me down and didn't propose to anybody. So, anyway. Thank you so much for listening. This is the end of the season 25 Bachelor series on my channel.